Guess what, guys? Taking an L? 2 L's? W. All right, broken clock. It's right twice a day. If it walks like a quack, it ducks like a duck. In my most recent video, I got a little bit of pushback. All right, guys, just a little bit. I genuinely do try to approach this YouTube thing as fairly as I possibly can and be a smart, intelligent person, but I am unfortunately a low IQ individual. So with that being said, I decided to reach out as I should have done so many times before this specifically, but reach out to Dawson, the guy who made the MrBeast video, and see if he wanted to do a little interview real quickly. Turns out he messaged me before the video even went up, and he is someone that I have had access to this whole time and just didn't reach out because I'm a fool, guys, because I'm a fool. So in the interest of fairness and in the interest of actual rationality, let us have both sides of the story in this one video on MrBeast, who I, on the face, refuse to believe is a evil, well, the Antichrist. But maybe though, I don't really know. A lot of people say it, it's a big meme. A lot of people hate the man, just seems like for no reason, basically, really, to be honest. But also, there's a reason that this video is blown up so bigly, and it seemed to resonate with a lot of people, and the MrBeast camp still has yet to come out and make any sort of statements outside the Ava Tyson stuff, which is very cut and very dry, and easy to determine who's the fucking degenerate and who is not. So once again, in the interest of 2 L's, potentially have a W here, I may be retiring as MrBeast's biggest glazer, all right, his biggest apologist. But that's only because Dawson paid me more than MrBeast, or yeah, Dawson's paid, no, yeah, no, I don't know, we'll see. Without any further ado, here is the interview with Mr. Dawson. I have a bunch of questions. Firstly, I apologize if in my video, I'm not sure how much of it you saw, if you saw all of it, if I unreasonably dismissed certain points, which I definitely absolutely did, but I would like to apologize. And I have no excuse other than I should have re-recorded a large part of that video before I posted it, because it's like a 3-day turnaround for all my videos. And it's just, you know, your video is an interesting pill to swallow for sure. It's very, very, very interesting. Yeah. And a lot of it's like, well, I'll ask you some questions. So firstly, I'd like to say that I'm sorry, genuinely. And I'm not one to apologize for just no reason at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't even expect you to apologize. I mean, I watched your video and like, maybe it's because I've watched your content before and I know you're sort of a MrBeast defender, but I wasn't expecting, it was pretty much on par with what I expected, I guess.
Okay.
And I thought it was
You got me.
Fair.
Oh, see, that's what I was trying to do. See, I was trying to be fair. I generally, I'm now the MrBeast apologist on YouTube though.
Yeah. Well, I think every creator is.
That's true. But I don't want to be. I want to be honest though. I want to have good faith. I don't want to be right. I just want to be honest. And you know, if my intent is not matching with what the information that I have in front of me, and like there's some crazy level of cognitive dissonance, it needs to be made clear. So that's the whole point of this. Hopefully we'll be able to
address your cognitive dissonance.
Yes, exactly. I was gonna say bury the hatchet, but that's nonsense. All right, so I got a list of questions here. Did you ever get to meet Mac? Are there numerous employees like Mac who have won prizes, or is Mac the main guy? Have you ever met anyone else?
I have met Mac.
Okay.
I remember, like, I don't know if you know how I got hired, but I had posted, I sent them my job application, but they also like don't usually respond. So I also posted it on the Reddit, and then someone had contacted me. But in that job application, which is public, I'm like detailing all these ways that like faking videos is bad or whatever, in my opinion. And I use like Mac as a reference, and then I get to the company and it's like my first day and I just see Mac in the hallways and I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't know he worked here.
Interesting. So he was kind of like
a surprise.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah. Do you think they didn't do any research into you first, or do you believe that they just not care?
Well, my first manager, I think I sort of slipped through the cracks.
Okay.
Because my first manager left, like he put in his 2 weeks notice the second day that I was at the company.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's a whole thing. But
so the main thing that you've claimed really well, there's two kind of like big points that are really egregious in my opinion in all of your claims, and that is number one, the illegal lottery thing. That's bad. Okay, that's like objectively bad. That's a crime. That's fraud. Nobody should do that. Secondarily, the big thing is like that people have said for so long is that his videos are faked, and like the extent of which they are faked. Do you think that some of the philanthropy channel videos are like faked they're obviously a different thing because it's all for good. Like, what is your stance on the philanthropy aspect of the MrBeast industrial complex?
It's hard to go into the philanthropy right now because that's kind of what I'm investigating.
Okay.
And I've received DMs from people who I have verified as MrBeast employees claiming different ways in which they're sort of fluffed up, you know? And it's sort of a controlled narrative. Like, I'll give one example, which is a DM I received about somebody saying that when he healed 1,000 blind people, many of those people were going to get the surgery for cheap or for free regardless.
Okay.
And he maybe like expedited the process or something.
So,
but then he sort of claims full credit for it.
Yeah, so it's not to say that it's like totally necessarily, like, you're not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's more so just like for the sake of transparency, right? Like, this man is claiming all these things. He should be able to be 110% transparent. Like, you shouldn't spin something that has the possibility. Go ahead.
Yeah, the logic there, I think that the company would respond if it was like 100% undeniable that they fluffed things up. Is like, okay, well, we're fluffing it up for entertainment value so that the video gets more views, we get more ad revenue. Like, most of the 501c stuff, it's legitimate. I'll say that. Like, it's not to discredit his charity work, but sometimes there's like the charity is being used to fund certain interests. I've also heard like he was exposed for trashing a beach, essentially. This was like a controversy a while ago, but it didn't get much attention. And I've heard that it was the philanthropy side of the business that actually went and cleaned up the beach instead of like his production company. So it's like, that could be shady, but...
Right. Huh. Yeah, because that's where my biggest kind of like problems lie with all this stuff is the lack of transparency from like business dealings intrinsically. Because it's cool to have someone be honest and everything when you're running a business, but like from the creator side of it, to be as successful as he is, or to be as successful really as any, you have to do things occasionally that are immoral, but you don't have to use your charity company to clean up a beach that you messed up. And like, you don't have to make the claim about the candy being healthy, the 5-in-1, like, you don't have to do all those things, but like it's like, well, it's for entertainment. So that's my scapegoat. That's why I don't need to be transparent. It's an invalid defense.
Yeah. And those are just allegations that have been messaged. So I haven't really dug super deep into it, which is why I haven't made any definitive statements on anything.
And looking on, is there anything that, you know, from your first video that you sort of want to amend? Or do you have, like, are you 110% sure you're justified and validated?
Or do you want to just go through Chuckys tweet or no?
Yeah, I can go ahead and go through Chuckys tweet.
Because like, as far as the claims of like selling fake signatures, rigging contest videos, and illegal lotteries, obviously, like, I think those claims are legitimate, and I stand 100% by them. You know, they just took down the 5-hour live stream on their Facebook page.
Right.
So I feel like
that validates
that's sort of
it.
an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
We can go through like Chucky's specifics that he called me out on, because he cherry picked the worst arguments in the video, obviously. And even these, like, I don't think his rebuttals are great, and he didn't really provide any evidence. Okay,
so I've got Chucky's tweet here. He said, "You won't get in a video unless your family or friends are with someone that works at Beast Inc." I can just put his statement on screen. You already know his statement. We don't need to go through the whole thing. But
yeah, so in that instance, I don't know what he's quoting. He's putting things in quotation marks, but I never said that. Like, you watched my video, you know that I said.
Yeah, you didn't say that. Yeah.
So just straw man argument, and then the train track was CGI, bus wheels are CGI, pit is fake. That's probably his best rebuttal. However, when that video came out, Train versus Pit, Jimmy received a lot of criticism about using CGI in that video. And I can send you some screen caps. Like, he was denying it in YouTube comments and on Twitter. Like, they say, oh, it was never a secret, but it's like, well, when you're being criticized for using CGI, why are you not openly acknowledging it? Again, not a big claim in my video.
What about the raccoon?
Raccoon was, dude, the raccoon. In reality, it's much worse than being a paid actor.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a domestic raccoon that they brought to the set, and they're like sort of treating it like a prop. They're putting it in the ceiling and then pretending like, you know, they just discovered it.
Yeah, exactly.
But then there's a scene where somebody off camera takes the raccoon and like throws it onto the bed, and I'm sure you could pull this clip up. The edit is very strange because there's a zoom in and pan up, so it like hides the fact that the raccoon is going on the bed. But what it's really doing is hiding the fact that someone's throwing the raccoon. And then there's a voiceover in post of Jimmy saying, "Oh man, the raccoon just ran in the hotel or whatever." And they're like screaming at it and shit. So it's like almost, I wouldn't say animal abuse, but like it's kind of borderline mistreatment when you're just like using it as a prop and then just scaring it for no reason.
Yeah, I don't like the whole, that's bizarre. Yeah, that's really weird. The island costs more than $1. What about that? What do you think about that? What do you think about that response?
If you literally Google what he tells you to Google, it used to say that it was $1 for the transfer fee, but $27 plus taxes and everything. Also, like the tax property records show that the island is valued at $800, and then they leased it back to the owner for $0. Which is like, dude, who gives a shit that the island didn't cost $1? It's just insane that they go to such extremes to never admit that they've ever faked anything. That Chucky released his statement at 4 a.m., which is like, I think that's very intentional to when I'm sleeping.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean the article has been changed, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, so there's
to change an article.
You're gonna do all that effort to just not admit that the island was $28 instead of $1 or $800 instead of $1.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, who cares? Yeah. Like why would you defend that so heavily? Like, yeah, we did it for a video. Of course, it's not that big of a deal. The video got a lot of views, but that's like the whole thing is like he's building up this massive empire. It's all predicated on the generosity, the genuine nature, the philanthropy, the transparency. That's what it's all that is like the main thing holding all this up. So it has to be, the criticism for that has to be acknowledged.
Yeah, I don't know if I can speak to this. I think him saying "how on earth would you know" is like baiting me into giving confidential information, like breaking my NDA or whatever. Because actually people think that I broke my NDA, but like 90% of that video is public information, and then like the other 10% is about crimes. I was like, it was pretty decently strategic. I don't think they would have a case, and like I've spoken with lawyers and everything. So, oh yeah, I didn't tell you. I got a cease and desist
from Beast.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You can put that up. I can send that to you.
Yeah, dude. Satan, Lord of Darkness. Is that real? I think they forgot to change that. MrBeast YouTube LLC, among other things, disclosing sensitive, confidential, proprietary information. Company business. How do you feel about that? Do you feel nervous, or do you feel
No.
excited?
I feel confident.
You feel
not excited, but
little nervous. A little bit. You got to feel a little. I would be shitting myself if I were you.
No, I'm not shitting myself.
Well, you're
because it was 100% expected. It was 100% expected.
Right. I mean, to be honest, like it's cool to be nervous and not scared though, because like you are coming from the perspective of this is what you believe is truth, and you're doing this out of good faith. Like it doesn't. The whole disgruntled employee thing. That's sort of that was my initial response as well. It's like because we've seen so many of these types of things happen. But at some point, it becomes like, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And that duck doesn't mean that they're all disgruntled employees. It's that maybe there's something going on internally at the company to cause these disgruntled employees, quote unquote. It's become a bizarre thing. I'm interested to see how the coverage of this continues to go further and further. You need to keep me updated on your cease and desist, because you're not ceasing or desisting. It seems like. So let's see. Revenge storyline added in post.
Yeah, 100% is added in post. 100%.
Okay.
There's a clip of Jimmy in an interview with John Ushai or whatever, and he says, "Oh, this is why he got out," or I don't know, maybe he did get out just because he didn't know or he thought no one else stepped out, and like that's the truth of the matter. Like, who cares? Again, he's just addressing points. It's like, even if I prove that it was fake, I feel like a lot of people in the Twitter comments are then like, well, who really cares that the island cost $28?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, well, you're right.
That's me.
It's
That's
not about them. Yeah. It's not about it's just about them covering it up to such an extreme degree that they can't admit to one little thing.
Yeah, and to be honest too, I don't feel like this doesn't feel like as much of an attack as I thought it was on day one. Like, it's genuinely just like you need to be held responsible. These are all valid criticisms. Like there's this is not in bad faith. This is good faith. And it's for kids. Like that's 3 days on, or however many days it's been. That's where I'm at with the whole thing. Whereas day one, I was like, you know, eating my Feastables or whatever, which I don't even like Feastables. I've only eaten them on camera once, and I don't like chocolate very much, so it's like not even that crazy. But it's funny reading all the negative comments from my video though. It's very interesting. They think that I have a collab brewing with MrBeast. He's never even
trying to get in the video.
Yeah, dude, I've literally turned down so much shit on YouTube. I do not give a about YouTubers, but I just want to be honest, and that's what this seems like. It seems like that's what you kind of started off doing in the beginning, which is good, and you're not being forced to be honest like some people. Not only were the results of the video completely scripted, but the contestants are not random subscribers.
Yeah, upper echelon posted a whole video almost exclusively about this claim, and he goes into like case law about how he blatantly rigged the results of a challenge and how that could be illegal.
Okay.
Yeah, his point is basically like, why does, you know, the world's largest game show with the highest viewership not have to follow traditional regulations?
It's a good point. That's what it all boils down to too. That's like I don't know. I don't know why it's like not a thing that everyone can just be like, this is the reasonable confrontation. That this is the reasonable thing. Why would they need to send you a cease and desist for any of this? That's what I don't understand. Like if it's all stuff that people talk about, like you're not being like MrBeast is the Antichrist, maybe a little bit, but like at the same time, who cares, right? That's something
I
actually.
cut that part out of the video.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, I like that part. I watched it minute 1. Like literally, I think it had maybe 30,000 views when I watched it, and I don't remember when that was. But it's interesting. It's really interesting. Like why? I don't know.
Yeah, my point wasn't that he is the Antichrist, but I wanted to basically say, you know, people at the company speculate that he is the Antichrist, but then it's like, that's total hearsay. I have no evidence of that.
People at the own company do?
Yeah. I mean, he's in the Bible Belt, and it's like people sort of joking, feeling around ideas is the impression I get from it, you know? It's like one girl talked to me about it, like explaining her theory in detail, actually referencing Bible verses and shit. And I'm not Christian. I don't know any of this. And it seemed like she was looking for me to sort of offer her like comfort or validation to be like, nah, that's crazy or whatever.
Interesting. Wow, yeah. That is very funny. Imagine walking around in your organization and there are people who work for you who think you might non-ironically be the Antichrist.
Yeah.
Dude, no wonder this video did well. People are thinking it. It's just a thing.
Oh yeah, I have so many former employees in my DMs that are like agreeing and like even some that obviously everybody wants to be anonymous. People who were in the videos in the past, like that are known.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Chandler?
No. But if he reads Book of Revelations tomorrow on his TikTok, holy shit. Dude.
Also, I think some of the MrBeast giveaways are fake. Did they fake giveaways, you think?
I think some of them just kind of slip through the cracks, or it's like, you know, you're giving away 1,000 phones, maybe one producer, they want one for their nephew or something. It's no one's like actually regulating. It's not like the FTC's watching over their shoulder. Yeah. So you can get away with some small things here and there. But mostly the giveaways are legit. Yeah, and
I think that's a big thing too. It's like if you're predicating your brand on this is the giveaway thing, you don't have the inch of wiggle room to just give a phone to a producer. You don't have that thing. If it's like once a year, whatever, but no, that's MrBeast. Like it's a totally different thing. Like the PNC, the company that gives away those or Publishers Clearinghouse or whatever, the people who give away those checks all the time and people win the lottery and all that stuff. If someone in that company were to be giving money to someone outside the rules of the law, they would get destroyed and be seen 100% bad faith and go to jail probably via the FTC. So it's like, you know, rules for thee, but not for me, because MrBeast is a pioneer and a trailblazer.
Oh, actually, referring to giveaways, I do have new evidence of like potentially another legitimate crime, which is that I talked about the golden ticket giveaway for the Willy Wonka video and how one of those tickets went to a YouTuber called Della Vlogs. There was another former employee DM'd me on Twitter, and he told me that there's another contestant in that video who his name is Justin, and he's Ava Chris Tyson's cousin. If they have some explanation, like maybe the contestant dropped out or something and they replaced him with him, then it could be fine. But like in a sweepstakes, if he actually won a golden ticket, which is what the employee is telling me, then that's completely illegal because you have to disqualify your family members,
right,
of employees. So
that's interesting. When is your second video coming out?
Well, I gotta talk to my lawyers.
Oh shit. You gotta talk to lawyers, and you gotta get more mushrooms. More mushrooms. Is that what Chunky said? That explains your erratic behavior.
Yeah, my erratic behavior. He also said like, I only worked at the company for a month. Sort of deceptive. I mean, I was contacted by the company back in February 19th, and then February 22nd, I signed a non-disclosure agreement and I started working with the company. It was just unpaid, whether you call that like a trial or training or whatever. But then I got to Greenville March 10th, and there was just like no time with the CEO or whatever to like sign the paperwork apparently.
Okay.
So that's why March 25th, 15 days after I arrived in Greenville, is when I officially started the 90-day contract. And then after I got fired, April 19th, the day that I got fired, one of MrBeast's oldest YouTube friends, like known him since 10K subscribers, he called me and he said that he wanted to hire me, but he had to ask MrBeast first, like MrBeast Corporation, for permission, because his company, one of their clients is MrBeast. And MrBeast Corporation didn't say like, oh, don't hire him, he's erratic. And then after I got hired by his company, I was again doing work for MrBeast, and I was like in contact with people at MrBeast.
Interesting. It's just another one of those sort of weird things where they're like unnecessarily adding layers to something that's really not that complicated.
There's such like loophole specific
that's weird
paperwork people, you know, which I can send evidence of all of what I just claimed too, if you want to include that in your video and put it on screen.
You can only be so fair without evidence, and I'm trying to be as fair as possible. And so far the evidence is we've got an argument of good faith and then an argument of bad faith. That's pretty much what it boils down to. And yours is the good faith one, by the way. Jimmy spends unfathomable amounts of money and time to ensure the integrity of what he does, and I hate to see it come to question with a bunch of lies. Dawson, if you leave this up, then you're a hypocrite. Do you think that is a true statement? How much control does MrBeast actually have? How much do you think you can blame these things that, you know, it's MrBeast, that's it, it's him. How much can you blame on the people around him reasonably? Not saying you ever should. He is the face and the name and the main guy he's going to be extracting the most from this, so he should be able to take the responsibility of all the faults and, you know, criticisms, etc. But if you were to be as fair as you possibly could and even play devil's advocate, what would you say percentage wise? You know, what's MrBeast's fault, what is not?
Yeah, no, I actually like play with this idea and speculate a lot. Like, okay, if Jimmy was fully innocent, how could he get into this position? And it'd be like, you know, you hire people who do bad things, and then they use those bad things as like blackmail cards against you. So like maybe somebody pressured him really hard into selling fake signatures. And now that they know that he sold fake signatures, it's harder to fire them in case they go to Time Magazine. Like concept called like blackmail inflation. So I don't know, anything could be possible. MrBeast could be completely innocent. I've seen some behaviors and things that make me think that, you know, he's not, like what I told you privately in DMs and everything. But yeah, so I don't know, 50-50. Let's call it 50-50.
So that's where I'm kind of at as well, you know, because I have some character references. So after seeing everything that you've said, right, I feel like even in spite of character references and in spite of like low IQ, you know, he's a philanthropist type defenses, which I do think is very important. I think the overall good you do is more important than like the intricacies of being an ethical content creator or whatever. But once again, it transcends that because he's got giveaways and he's breaking laws, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like very, very, very early on thoughts. I feel like with all the character references that I've gotten, it's about 50-50 in that I've seen people, I know people very personally who have spent a lot of time with him and they love him. And I know people and they think he's like a genius and like a visionary and he really does bring a lot of people up, et cetera, et cetera. And then I know people who are like, that guy is not a human being. That guy, like he gambles all day long. Like shit like that, I've heard people say. Total hearsay. Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but the people who have said it, I would believe them. Not enough to where I'm going to make an entire video about it, but it boils down once again to a 50-50 thing, which is I think why it's so important to talk about all this stuff, because I believe that your argument is in good faith. And I think talking about this point specifically for someone like me, that really reinforces my belief that what you're saying, the things that you're saying are truly in good faith, and that you're not a disgruntled employee. If you are rightfully so disgruntled employee.
Yeah, I mean, you can watch my video and like view it through the lens of, oh, this guy's just a disgruntled employee, but the evidence still speaks for itself.
Of course.
I mean,
yeah. It really does.
That's what I was trying to that video is like sort of remove myself from it and just show you as much evidence as possible.
Well, I'll tell you what, bud, sometimes that gets lost on even great geniuses like myself. So, fools. Fools. We talked about alleged illegal lotteries and how they were conducted. Do you have any more instances of that other than the instances that were covered in the video? We mentioned the 5-hour live stream that was taken down.
Well, I drew the line at like 30 million subscribers because there's countless examples of him doing this back to, 10,000 subscribers.
It's good to know that there's a clear line in the sand though. That's good.
There's also like, he did a shady live stream with Team C's where it was the same thing, like buy in the next couple minutes and you could win an iPhone, you could win a car. I think he gave away 4 cars during that live stream. I didn't talk about it because it's charity work, but even still, like legally,
right? Yeah. It's like it's the same argument. It's something bad good because it's for something good. At what point do you have to once again just draw a line in the sand and be like, no? You need to be held responsible. If anybody should be held responsible, it should be that guy. It should be the number one guy. He shouldn't be able to slip through the cracks. What was your job title exactly while you worked for MrBeast Corporation Enterprises LLC?
Ideation strategist.
How complicit are the other actors in the MrBeast content, like pre-Ava Tyson being shut down? How complicit do you believe, like Carl and Chandler, even though he reads Bible verses now? Like, how responsible do you hold them all?
Far less responsible. I mean, they have families, they have their livelihood on the line. The people who are responsible at MrBeast are literally nameless. Like, you guys don't know that they exist.
Okay, that's very reasonable. Okay.
Yeah, like top executives.
Okay. I just don't see someone like Chandler or even like Carl or even Ava or any of these people having anything to do with any of this. Like, they just don't seem like these giant geniuses. They're just like regular ass.
No, they're actually like kept in the dark.
Interesting.
In terms of like productions and stuff. Yeah, specifically. And the reason is because like someone like Chandler might actually leak it, even if it's accidentally.
Right. He might read a specific Bible verse, an old prophecy about the next MrBeast giveaway being fake. One of the interesting things to me that I felt like was really good YouTube content, but didn't necessarily sway my opinion on anything, be it whatever it may have been, ignorance, whatever you would want to call it, is the studies of children's psychology and the incorporation of those studies and the knowledge that they gain from that, like literal academic study of children's psychology and the application of that into the content and the strategies and the business model. Because to me, that is something that I find abhorrent. And I, saw the video, and I'm not going to just magically believe that, obviously, but it makes perfect sense. And the points you make are there. But I would have to see like an SOP from Beast Incorporated LLC, Satan.com, and it would have to say like something specific for me to just blatantly believe that type of thing. But we're talking about this, and hypothetically speaking, so I can give you the benefit of the doubt because I'm an ignoramus. How deep is that? What level of manipulation of children's psychology do these people use for profit? Like how far does that go, do you think, in your opinion?
I mean, it's endless. They'll go as deep as they can. Again, I don't specifically know that Jimmy's like super into that. I've heard him say on podcasts, hey, we do study psychology or whatever. But I think when he's saying we, it might be like, okay, this department at the company studies psychology.
So did you ever observe any examples of that in the ideation process?
Yeah, but if we got into specifics, then I have to cut it.
Okay, yeah. But okay, I got you. Trust me, bro. I trust you. I do believe you. Yeah, because that's where it starts to get really, really, really bizarre and strange. And the marketing is pretty much always bad. Do you have any examples of like kind of good positive strategies for marketing just in general? Like what, because now you're so hyper aware of like this YouTube thing. What would you say is like an example of a brand or a content creator or someone who's doing well, just to like kind of shine some positive light?
Yeah, there's this guy on YouTube named Oompaville.
Oh my God. Fuck you, bro.
I'd say like Ryan Trahan probably as well.
I would agree.
Bo Burnham, when he was around, he was great. I think he was almost too moral, and that's why he had to leave.
Interesting. Yeah, that's the type of stuff I really appreciate it, by the way. You flatter me too much. I did not deserve that. That is something that I try to do whenever I make a video, is I try to approach it like morally, right? And then if I feel stupid or if I feel that I was wrong 100%, like I need to make it right at the expense of my own, like I don't really care about my like feelings or whatever. really like to try and find the good faith aspects of the things that I'm talking about. It's so easy to talk about degeneracy. You know, it's so easy to talk about Ava Tyson and like all these freaks that I talk about and cover all the time. Like, it's so simple. Stuff like this, it's difficult. It requires someone with a higher IQ. And I do, you know, I can't say that I felt the same first watch, all things considered with your video on MrBeast, but having digested it as a critically thinking human being over the last couple days, it appears to be 100% good faith as well. I can confidently say it does not seem like you want to necessarily gain anything from this. You're not a bad actor. You appear to just be honest and
yeah, I mean, we're all monkeys. We will lie if we have to. I mean,
of course.
I just try to be honest, I guess.
What do you think about the Rosanna Pansino thing and like the whole Amazon games, all that stuff coming out now? Because there's just like, ever since Ava Tyson happened, there's been so many different little strings of what's going on. What are your feelings about all that?
When I first arrived at the company, there had recently been a Time magazine article published with like a video and stuff. They came and interviewed him at the studio. I heard lots of stories about that interview and everything. And there's multiple employees in that Time magazine piece that were sort of whistleblowing against safety, like OSHA violations and everything at the company, which then like the reporter came to the studio. Apparently Jimmy thought it was going to be like maybe Time Person of the Year or whatever.
Yeah, fluff piece.
And then this reporter started asking questions about safety. And you can actually see in the video, Jimmy kind of has to awkwardly kick her out halfway through the interview. And then apparently because she was asking about safety and they'd already spoken to former employees. So I don't know. I hadn't witnessed anything personally because I was on pre-production, but I had heard through the grapevine lots of stories about poor safety practices. So it wasn't unexpected at all, to be honest, like Beast Games, especially because originally they wanted it to be 5,000 contestants, and they wanted it to be like getting down to, so this is for episode 0, which would be on MrBeast YouTube channel, 5,000 contestants down to 1,000. And my job to come up with ideas, what challenges can you do with 5,000 people and whatever the budget is that are safe and entertaining? There's not many. So they wanted to just have a giant dice, essentially, eliminate people. Like people that they said, hey, take 3 months off work, fly here, and then just get eliminated by a giant dice, which they didn't end up doing that, luckily. I thought they were when they went to Vegas, but well, maybe they should have done that because what ended up happening was a bloodbath.
Allegedly.
Yeah. And I have people in my DMs saying that they had got into Beast Games, they got the email that they were accepted and everything, and then they were ghosted the last second. So I'm thinking that the decision to go from 5,000 to 2,000 might have happened last second. And there's like production people and contestants, like 3,000 of them essentially, who just got ghosted.
Interesting. Huh. Mm-hmm. And that was all originally predicated once again on the, this is a huge opportunity of a lifetime, be a part of the MrBeast Games, and then they're just ghosting people instead of, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then if you get there, then you don't like get your medication. Production lost some people's medication, and those people got eliminated because production lost their medication.
Nice.
Yeah. And then they say, hey, sign this piece of paper. And then by signing that piece of paper, you can't take part in a class action lawsuit, but we'll send you $1,000 in 4 months.
Logan Paul style.
If you dig into the testimonies from people, and they're all unverified because there's no video footage of these things happening that's been released yet, but it's a lot of people corroborating the same stories, and it's just crazy. Which that was a MrBeast production, not an Amazon production, because it was for episode 0, the promotional video on his YouTube channel.
Now, do you think that MrBeast pays YouTubers to apologize for him? Do you think that their team goes out of their way to silence people or hush people? Is it like a big cabal?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the instance. Like, I think most likely Keemstar is probably bought. And then I think there's a lot of other YouTubers who are like,
that's awesome,
like Ludwig or whatever. Not to call anybody out. There's like every single YouTuber who is probably in that 50 YouTuber video. There's some rapport. There's some, Jimmy's well aware of the law of reciprocity that like if you give to someone, they're more likely to give to you. So, you know, I understand why big commentary YouTubers didn't pick this up earlier, or why some still won't. And yeah, that's fine.
Well, I would like to think of myself as not someone who is bought and paid for by anyone. So, and people saying that is just like so funny to me. I have all of my Twitter DMs are literally, how much did he pay you? And it's so funny because I really wish he would have paid me. I do actually at this point, but no. How much did I pay you to be nice to me for this video?
Just give me some candy, sour.gg.
Jokes aside, don't bring me up. Like, I know you're a funny guy. You're a clever dude. If there was a product, let's say MrBeast has his candy product and he's promoting it and he's just a YouTuber, what do you think the way MrBeast should go about Feastables from this point on? Like, do you think it's savable at this point? Because I feel like your criticism of like the whole health thing, it's bad from the very beginning, right? Like he started off on the wrong foot. And now it's just going to be worse and worse and worse. Unless he can pull a Logan Paul, which he definitely will be able to. Let's be real. He's going to be able to pull a Logan Paul. Like, he can be the bad guy now. MrBeast, after your video, MrBeast, in my opinion, will be the next Logan Paul. The general consensus on YouTube for the 30, 40 million people that exist in this commentary sphere, the internet culture sphere, probably from now on will just hate MrBeast. And he's going to be the new Logan Paul. Do you think that there is a way that he could have gone about the Feastables thing in the beginning that would have been better? Because in my opinion, that's like the first, and like that's what began all of this stuff, is him being more than just MrBeast. He's got this huge thing now.
I mean, Feastables is just a snack brand. It's not specifically the chocolate. He's done protein bars in the past, and like, that might better align with his brand now. But like, I think he's trying to grow up his audience, and he lost a bunch of weight and working out and everything. So I think it is recoverable, but maybe on the chocolate side, it's a bit iffy. I mean, did he really ever have success with selling a chocolate product, or did he have success with, marketing, right? Like, I think he was just more successful on the marketing front, because he just did the same thing that he was doing with the live streams, but instead of t-shirts, he like switched it out for Feastables, and then he like made it, because it was like an outside company and everything, it was like a little bit more legal. But then like you see the shit like no perch neck, and it's like, holy shit, like, do you have to hide it that bad? Does everything need to be like so optimized for deception? I just don't get it.
That's a really good point, is like everything is hyper optimized to deceive people. And that's pretty much what marketing is, though. Like, when you really, if you're like a traditionally trained marketer, you learn how to use words to convince people that you're not trying to convince them of stuff. Like, it's so nonsensical, and it's really bad in food. It's really bad in gaming, and it's so bad in YouTube. I mean, like, that's what YouTubers pretty much just do. That's what it's really all about. I mean, it's just like getting people to kind of believe something and not look else. It's really weird. I don't know. I don't like being a YouTuber. I hate it. But also, I'm very grateful, obviously, because, like, success is pretty cool. But I would rather just be an ape swinging from trees, I think, or reading Bible verses on TikTok like Chandler.
What YouTube is financially incentivized to do is they've essentially commoditized attention, and it's like mostly children's attention. And people think of attention as like this passive thing, like it's just passive observation. It's which direction your head is facing at any given moment. That's what your attention is. But especially for children, it's like more involved in their development. So I think what YouTube is financially incentivized to do is, one, get as much attention as possible, but two, what people don't understand is transform that intention so that's more valuable to advertisers. It's like you're cultivating a crop. It's like, oh, this potato is better because it's more consumeristic. But what MrBeast is doing is effectively teaching his audience to be more consumeristic by like constantly reinforcing the idea that happiness comes from spending money and buying products. That's why it's like those creepy thumbnails where it's the kid smiling at the credit card, and then he'll like show somebody spending $1 million in 24 hours, and then he'll cut it in the middle of it to do an advertisement for Current, which is like a credit card service. Yeah.
This guy is a genius. Holy shit. I would have never thought of that.
What you said earlier, it's just like, don't hate the player, hate the game. If you're trying to be the best YouTuber possible, he's exactly what YouTube wants. He's somebody that makes attention more valuable to advertisers. But then when you remove, what you talk about, which is like the integrity and the morals from that equation, like over the future, what will happen is AI content will just continue to eat all the market share away from human creators. And then obviously AI doesn't have morals. So it's like that's a very scary dystopian future.
That's what it feels like. That's what MrBeast content for me has felt like for years. AI content, like for children. Like there's no way you watch a MrBeast video and it's just like, how do we watch this? Like, what is this shit? It just doesn't feel like a real thing. I remember the last video that I watched was the one where you talked about the valves that are, it's obviously like not legit in that video. I don't remember what the fuck it's called. It's like 100 levels or whatever. You get it. The dude had to go down and hit it by the end of the time limit. I watched that whole video in like 3 seconds. It felt like 3 seconds. And by the end of it, I felt like I was like a psychic vampire had just stolen my life essence against my will. I literally felt gypped. And generally with my phone and stuff, I'm very aware of like what apps and algorithms are trying to pull my attention in. And like, I can tell, TikTok, it's like showing me shit specifically. It's so obvious. It's a moot point. Everybody knows about it. It's a cliche at this point. But with content creators, I don't feel that way. Whenever I watch, like, say, Critical, for example, or like Tom or Muda or anybody really in the commentary space, or just anybody afar outside maybe Sunny V2, it doesn't feel like this thing is pulling my attention in against my will and like it's just some kind of like dopamine algorithm thing. It feels like content that I'm watching from a human being that I'm getting value from. Whereas with MrBeast content, it's this just polished, amorphous slop stuff. Like, it's very weird. It's very, very, very strange. It's a bizarre feeling. And like you're saying, the market share will be AI. Right now, the market share is already MrBeastified channels. And like at a certain point, those two things will just become the same. The MrBeast stuff. And it's just, I don't know, it leaves a weird taste in my mouth. And you mentioned the taking people's attention. I think about that a lot in like just my life generally, trying to spend time doing things that make me feel better, give meaning to my life, et cetera, whatever. It's like your life force. And when you look at stuff like that, you're taking people's attention and you kind of see it as something more than just, where your head's pointing, like what you said. It becomes the gravity of the situation becomes a lot heavier. It becomes like I might be evil just by being on YouTube and being successful on YouTube. I might be evil, but there's levels to it. So it's like you have to come to terms with all this stuff. And I think, honestly, your video is probably one of the best examples of this like innate feeling that I felt for a very long time, but couldn't put words to and ignored and experienced cognitive dissonance. I think that's why you have the 95.5 dislike to like ratio, is because your video is that thing that people are thinking collectively, but don't really know how to say it because, what exactly is representing it? We don't really know. But at this point, MrBeast is what represents that. And it's a really interesting, I don't know, it's cringe to use the word conflagration, but that's pretty much what it feels like. It feels like this insane, just out of nowhere realization across the board by a lot of people that you sparked in a really unique way while on mushrooms, by the way, I'll add, with your erratic behavior.
Dude, people thought the intro to that video is serious, where like my eyes are bulging. Like, dude, I literally just ran around my room, like hyperventilating, like flashed a light in my eye, and then like I'm under the bed in that clip. Do you think I'm not aware that I'm under the bed, like pretending to look like a schizophrenic who's like hiding on the run from MrBeast? Like, of course.
Yeah.
And then they actually use that to like discredit me and say that I'm whatever. And I'm sure the character assassination is probably the route that they have to go, because it's just so, or you have to apologize.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In my opinion, he's got to apologize. And I guess we'll leave this off by like, what do you think? What do you think MrBeast, what do you think he's going to do? And what do you think he has to do? In your own opinion, say right and wrong is concrete.
I don't know. This shit's so complicated.
It is insanely complicated.
It's like Google is just the problem,
Yeah.
Or YouTube is the problem.
Yeah.
But how do you fix that? How do you rectify that situation? Like, you're not even allowed to criticize them on the platform because they control the medium of communication.
100%. I mean, my MrBeast video, where I was literally a MrBeast apologist, the most recent video, it was demonetized 15 times and age restricted 10 times. And UVR, like, we have 20 copies of the video on my channel, and like UVR people watch the video at YouTube. Every time we send it in, turned yellow. They give us stuff, we cut it out, gets manually viewed, yellow. Like, I don't know if there is an answer to that the problem on the platform of YouTube, but there's also no other real. Maybe just we go outside more. We just touch grass. What do you think?
Yeah, but the content becomes too addictive, and then it's impossible to go outside anymore.
Because we're just simply monkeys. So it's like you can't. It's too complicated. It's too fucking complicated.
Yeah, it's like the way I sort of think about it is there's like these evolutionary loopholes, and like I would put them in two categories. One is chemical, which is shit like, you know, cocaine or heroin or opium or whatever. It's like you literally have receptors in your brain, like the serotonin receptors, this is sort of the famous one, and psilocybin or psilocin, the active ingredient in magic mushrooms. The reason it interacts with your serotonin receptor is literally just because it looks similar to the chemical. So, but like those are very easy to regulate because then you just say, oh, is this molecule this? And then you just criminalize it. If somebody has that molecule, you get rid of it. When it's something like conditional, where it's like you trigger this, and now your actual receptor will trigger through real dopamine instead of synthetic dopamine, but it's still that highly addictive process, if that makes sense.
It does make perfect sense.
So it's like, how do you regulate that? It just seems inevitable.
It is, yeah. I think that's what people interesting.
Yeah, but then it's like, then you listen to like a Bo Burnham song and you cry.